Hey guys, welcome back to Uncanny channel. Today we're going to be talking about another one of the true stories behind your favorite horror movies, and today's movie is As Above, So Below. This one was recommended by Paranormal Christine, aka Paranormal TV on YouTube. I will link her below. She is a really fun to watch ghost hunter. She does some really cool paranormal investigations, and she's very upfront with you when she doesn't think that she's found any paranormal evidence. She doesn't try to force things or shoehorn things into being paranormal. She's very true to herself. So if you are interested in watching paranormal investigations of spooky haunted places, check her out. She's great. Thank you for the suggestion. This did not turn out the way I thought that it would, but I like how it turned out. It was very interesting and cool. So great suggestion. Thank you, Christine. So without giving any spoilers for the movie, As Above, So Below came out in 2014. It is a found footage style film about a group of people who go down into the catacombs under Paris to explore and get lost and, find some very unsettling, scary, I don't want to spoil anything. They find some very scary stuff. And it's a whole, only the camera was found kind of thing. The movie is pretty cool because it's actually the first movie that the city of Paris green-lighted to be filmed in the catacombs. So instead of building a catacomb style set, they actually were able to film in the actual catacombs, which had a lot of unexpected issues for filming. There was no electricity, there was no cell service. They had to haul a bunch of equipment in and haul a bunch of equipment out. Instead of bringing in a bunch of props, they just interacted with the environment as it is, and that made for some very cool interactions with the way the catacomb actually is. Also, one of the main actors has claustrophobia, and so when they were filming, they had to take a bunch of breaks so that he could step out and get some fresh air and see the open space and kind of bring himself back down so they could continue to film. Which I would just love to see a documentary about how this whole filming process for this movie went, because it sounds like it's so different from the way we think about most movies being made. I would love to see how they did it. So when I saw Christine's suggestion on Twitter, I kind of felt like there wasn't gonna be anything that was a true story behind it, but I went ahead and researched it anyway because I wanted to research everybody's just in case there might be something I just didn't know that it had a true story. And it doesn't technically, but there is a similar story that is very, very creepy, that is essentially the same kind of story as Above, So Below. And I'm going to talk about that because it is creepy AF, and I think you guys will really enjoy it. I did look and see if maybe the movie was influenced by this story. I couldn't find anywhere where the writer or the director said that they were influenced by the story, so I'm not going to say that it was, but it is very similar, so it could have been. So I'll just give you guys a quick explanation of what the catacombs are in case you're not familiar, and it'll help kind of set up the atmosphere for the story and why this is creepy and weird. So basically, the catacombs came to be because Paris is a very old city, and people have been living and dying there for hundreds of years, since at least the 5th century. In the 1700s, they reached a point where there were too many bodies for the cemetery. So you would walk the cemetery and it would be off the ground, several feet would just be mounds where they had stacked bodies on top of bodies and just made it work. Not to mention there was a building that was next to the cemetery whose basement caved in because there was such a weight from all the bodies that were in the cemetery. And when that happened, the cemetery was we're not accepting new bodies until we figure out what to do with this. But whether or not the cemetery is closed, people are still gonna die. So then you have this additional problem of we can't put people in the cemetery, but people are still dying, so now we have all these bodies we don't know what to do with. Meanwhile, you have a mine that has collapsed in on the left bank of Paris, and the city is maybe we can take the bodies from the cemetery and just put them in the mine. And that's what they do. They exhume all of the bodies and put them in the mine. And there's so many people in this cemetery that basically once you get into the catacombs, everyone's grave is unmarked. You're stacking everybody's similar bones on top of each other. Rooms of skulls, rooms of femurs. There's no way to mark where your relative is. So when you go in the catacombs, it's just walls and walls of bones, basically. And it's a lot of people. And don't let me undersell it. They moved millions of bodies from the cemetery into the mines. So that's where the catacombs come from. So The true story. There was a guy in the early 90s who went down the catacombs by himself to do, I guess, some filming. No, I couldn't find anywhere that said why he went down, but he went down with a video camera and like, he clearly went down to like take some cool shots of like, you know, the debris, the walls, that kind of thing, get like some cool shots of the catacombs, but he never resurfaced. They sent teams in to go find him. No one found him. They didn't find a body, nor did they find him alive, but they did find his camcorder and a cassette. If you're young, a cassette is like what we had before CDs. So they basically found his footage. When I say cassette, it's his footage. They found the footage. So the tape is pretty normal to begin with. It's just shots of the walls, some debris, different piles of bones, kind of getting like some artsy shots. It's some kind of like exploratory, it's a lot of exploratory footage of him just going through and being like, look at this, so on and so forth. But then there is a point where he starts running from something. You never see what it is on the footage, but there's a good long shot of just like, you know, you're seeing it through the camera's eye, and you can see the camera's like bouncing around, and he's using it as like a light source to light where he's going. It doesn't say he has any kind of direction of where he's going. He's just going away from something. And then at a point he drops the camera and you see his feet run past, and then there's nothing else. The camera just films the wall in front of it until the tape runs out. So this is like a very like weird behavior. It's not like the catacombs are like, you know, a very clear grid of where you're going. They're very winding, and I knew it was big before I researched for this video, but I didn't realize how big. I was like, maybe it's like 20 to 30 miles worth of tunnels, which is a lot. It's actually closer to 400 miles of tunnels. Not to mention, you have 4 miles of tunnels that are several layers deep. You could be in the middle of the catacombs and also 300 feet underground. So for him to be running around without like an aim of where he's going, and if you're going in the catacombs to explore, you know what the deal is. Like, you're not going in to just run around, because you will get lost and you will probably starve and die unless you like know how to get back. And so for him to be running kind of aimlessly through these tunnels, it would have to be something that was more important, more threatening to him than being lost deep underground in a wild, like, labyrinth of bodies. So ABC thought this too. And there's an ABC documentary in which they discuss the footage, analyze kind of like what happens in it, and then they speak to some experts, historians who know about the catacombs, urban explorers, and develop like a team, I guess, or put together like some knowledge in order to do an expedition into the catacombs to see if they can find where the camera was dropped and hopefully find this man. So they explore the catacombs for over 6 hours without finding anything that is linked to the footage until they finally come across this symbol on the wall that looks kind of like, it honestly looks very Blair Witchy. It's like a human, it's like a big white chalk drawing of a human that they identify as a symbol that they saw in the footage. So they check the footage and see what he did after that point, and he turns right into the next tunnel, and so they follow that. And as they go along, they find other little markers that are related to the footage. They see a big arrow on the ground that matches the footage. They see very distinct piles of bones that he focused on or like fiddled with and stuff. They eventually find this like long, it's almost like a long corridor hallway that is just 2 feet deep with bones. And they finally get to the point where they believe that he would have dropped the camera, and they kind of hit a dead end. There's nothing else in the footage, obviously, that would send them in the right direction, and there's not really anything that they see in the tunnel that would give them an idea of where they should be going next. And so the trail runs cold and they don't end up finding anything. But I thought it was really creepy that they made this remark about how the area is probably a gate to hell. I don't know why they say that. It wasn't clear to me when I watched the documentary why they're saying that. There is like a little saying, I guess in Paris, that if you run through the catacombs enough, you'll eventually find a gateway to hell. I mean, there's not like a drawing or anything on the wall that would say this is the hell gateway. You know, enter here for hell. In the documentary, they do remark on that, and they speculate maybe he found the gateway to hell, LOL. But then they're like, this is probably a gateway to hell. And I don't know why that's in there. I'm sure it probably doesn't mean anything, you know? Because if it did, they would have like, I feel like they would have exploited that for the documentary. I don't know. It was It was a weird comment from when we were talking about a guy missing and is probably dead somewhere. Yeah, that whole idea of just there's so much probably that's like unexplored in the catacombs. I mean, there was a situation where they found someone had set up an entire like working movie theater in one of the unused caverns that had been there for a long time, and they had no idea how they got electricity to it or anything, but it was clearly set up to be like a movie theater, and it was in this section of the catacombs for years, and no one knew about it because you just don't ever get to explore the whole thing. It is so huge and massive, and it's so deep underground. Like what or who could be in there? Just to think about it is so weird and like unsettling and creepy. And I think that idea paired with the fact that he dropped the camera at all and didn't go back for it, like it's clearly his light source that he's using to see where he's going. So whatever he's running from must be more terrifying than the idea of getting lost in these tunnels and dying. He drops the camera, he just leaves it. He doesn't even like try to stop for it. He just drops it, and it is where it lays, you know? I don't know, it's a very, very, very creepy and freaky idea. And I don't know. I'm not claustrophobic, but the idea of being lost in a tunnel in the dark forever is just, So that is the freaky true story that resembles As Above, So Below. What did you think? Is that not some of like the creepiest shit you've ever seen in your life? Like obviously the thought of it made my skin crawl, but then that paired with the footage and just like the thought of it, and like this is real footage. Like it's not just like a thing that someone made to freak you out. Like it's the fact that it's a real found footage of something that happened is so, I'm realistic about maybe he just had like a panic attack, like maybe like being down there for so long brought up some unexpected stuff for him, or like he had I don't know, but I mean I'm realistic that it could be a normal reason why he's freaking out, but it can't really let it go either that it could not be and that it could be something like sinister. Oh, that was a good one. That was a really good one. Anyway, thank you for going on this creepy ass journey with me. If you have a suggestion for a horror movie with a cool true story, or just a favorite horror movie of yours that you want to share with me, you can comment it below or tweet me on Twitter here. I will look into all of them because this has actually been really interesting and fun. I am so thankful for each and every one of you who has subscribed. Thank you. I hope you have a wonderful weekend and an excellent week next week. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button and ding the bell so that you get a notification when I post my next video. Like this video if you think the catacombs are creepy as hell, no pun intended, but you still want to go anyway and visit it because you're just that kind of person like I am. I will see you guys in my next video. Until then, bye guys.